just start sweating.
I know. I pop a Molly.
Pop a cough drop. I'm sweating.
Oh, is that?
All right. Well, want me to do it? Oh, you got it?
You do it. Sorry.
You do it,
Welcome
Dad.
to the Awkward Side Hug podcast. I am Brian Andrew. Might not be below me. Might not be to the left of me. I'm not sure because on my screen, I'm to the right. So Steven's here. Lex is here. This is the Awkward Side Hug podcast. We go for quirky awkward, not dad hit your mommy at the dinner. We have lesson learned on our end. Or do you want to get straight into fourth mic questions? Because we have a lot of stories we have to tell.
Let's do it.
All right. Lex or Steven, because I don't have the questions.
I guess I have the question.
Is that the 8 Mile soundtrack in the background?
Yeah.
It got real intense. Okay, so apparently this episode is brought to you by 8 Mile.
There was a...
Like a quick little announcement. I'll have Brian take this one over, actually. Just wanted to officially announce, just in case you guys noticed, the Awkward Fantasy Show and the MMA Bro podcast on the Awkward Side Hug YouTube channel and the Instagram and everything. Just wanted to officially announce that the Awkward Side Hug, the network format, in a sense. It's I like Brian's way of explaining it with the magazine.
It's like a magazine that has different content in it. But it's so the Awkward Side Hug podcast is the umbrella. It's what we are. And then we have little niche content stuff. Me and Steven like to talk about fantasy football. Obviously, that would probably just last during the football season. Lex and a friend of the show, Jesse, are doing MMA. I will eventually, it's called MMA Bro. And I will eventually want to do wrestling and other stuff. And if you feel like there's a content thing maybe you want to talk about and and we could trust you to be on our little format, then maybe we'll allow you to be part of the network as well.
Antonio Brown hits us up. We're like, I don't know. The Patriots dropped you, so I don't know.
He's like, hey, Antonio Brown hits us up. He's like, hey, I want to do a content show on training with my trainers.
He's like, I want to call it the comeback story. We're like, oh, hey, a little too racy. But yeah, so let's get into the fourth mic questions then. We do have a few this time, so.
Right. So the first question, and I'm assuming, oh yeah, here it is. Why are you in Vegas and not doing what I want to do?
Yeah. So that was even though it was a DM, that was the homie Daniel. So I just broke our rule. No, it's funny because I think he wanted to shoot some photography that night, and I was like, oh, my bad, fam, I'm in Vegas. And then yeah, he just let me have it in the Awkward Side Hug DMs. So, but hey, I'm back now. I'm hella sick.
We were supposed to take pictures for the Awkward Side Hug with Daniel.
Yes, that's right.
So it might be 2 months down the line. It could be 2 days. It could be 2 years.
Hopefully soon.
Randomly see a photo shoot with us three in it whenever we have the time to all hang out together.
We're all just like the soccer pose, just like arms around, like leaning forward.
Because let's just be honest, this podcast wouldn't last much longer if we all had to get together in the same room.
Yeah, exactly.
Because me and Steven once tried to do a fantasy football podcast where I had to drive to Corona, and then after 2 episodes, I just refused to do so.
Corona? I don't want you to live in Corona.
Corona?
But, yeah, so shouts out to Daniel, Dan the Stallion. Yeah, we got to get them photos in though for the Awkward Side Hug. So
everybody's waiting for those.
Yeah, by popular demand. That's what I'm saying.
Question two. Unless you have something you want to say, Lex.
There are a couple things that I don't like about Brian. I'm just
just like from his nose when he did that little slide.
As you can tell, this isn't very PC.
Yeah, this is probably gonna be our worst episode. I'm just like sick, just like snotting all over the microphone right now. Like
we're trying to be extra nice to each other.
Oh man, yeah, we got into like a bad fight. I have like the bruise. I put makeup over my bruise right before the podcast.
Should we just reveal the curtain just a little bit?
Yeah, we can.
This is our
just a peek.
Let's give him a sneak peek.
This is our second attempt at recording this episode because the first
episode number 3.
was it got awkward, but I think in the wrong kind of awkward we don't want. And me and Lex kind of went at it, and not really went at it. It's just like there was just awkward silences a lot, and jabs thrown that maybe the other person didn't think they were throwing, but then they were thrown and they were taken on the chin.
There was a lot of haymakers, I'll tell you that.
There's a lot of haymakers.
There's a lot of. And I'm just sitting here eating my popcorn, watching it. There's nothing I can do. I can't break them up because we're not.
But the thing is, we kind of realized like it's content, but it wasn't necessarily good content. So we decided to redo the episode.
Yeah,
maybe one day, you guys will get to see some of it. But
yeah, Lex was sick, miserable.
For now, it's locked away.
I was already yelling at like both Brian and Steven like an hour prior. Brian was already like he said he was already snappy like the entire week in general. It was just made for a horrible mix. It was like
we're all probably somewhat exhausted from our trip.
Yeah. Let's just say it wasn't entertaining. It got bad. But yeah, I just don't appreciate you bringing up my penis size, Brian, on that first attempt. But anyways,
it's 42 inches.
It's like wrapped around. It's wrapped around his legs right now.
It's turning the AC on during the podcast halfway through.
You like see it in the background or what?
It flops over your shoulder like a snake.
Oh man!
All right, question number 2.
Question number 2.
All right. So, who was your first favorite wrestler, and who's your current favorite wrestler?
I can go for hours on this.
Yeah, let Brian go first, though. We'll
have Brian go first.
So, obviously, my favorite growing up was The Rock. But it's funny because you sometimes realize as you're older, you didn't appreciate wrestlers as much. So the wrestler that I feel like I didn't appreciate until he can no longer wrestle was Chris Benoit. So I'm going to throw it out there. Hot take. He is the best technical wrestler ever to also have a murder suicide.
Oh, man.
So, man.
And he's top 5 technical overall, but he is in his own niche category. And
all right, so looks like we're gonna have to record this episode a second time or a third time.
Chris Benoit's son's in the corner, like, hey man, I don't like you throwing jabs like that.
Come on, man.
That guy.
I'm talking about the one that's alive.
Come on, man. Come on.
By the way, I still have this conspiracy theory that it was all work and he's gonna come back in the Royal Rumble someday.
God, hold on. I gotta.
But current favorite wrestler is Pentagon Jr. And if I had to pick a WWE one, it would be Bray Wyatt.
Okay. Gosh, I almost had to walk out, man. That says something. If I almost walked out during this episode and not the first attempt, that was all right.
That was a little more controversial than the first attempt.
Oh, man.
No Benoit fans? He was a really good wrestler.
Yeah,
he was.
Antonio Brown is a really good receiver.
All right.
People aren't dropping him off their fantasy football teams yet, are they?
I got an update not too long ago saying that there were teams interested in him, and that they're just gonna wait until the legal stuff kind of dies down a little bit before he signs somewhere. So
that could take weeks.
Yeah.
Yep.
He's done the season.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Steven, do you wanna bring the podcast back or?
What's
your favorite wrestlers?
So my favorite wrestler was The Rock as well. And you know what? Brian's right. Like looking back at, when I watch YouTube videos and things like that, like as a child or as a younger me, I didn't appreciate some of the other guys' talent or their charisma. And I think, that's kind of like the way it goes because, they're telling a story and you find a favorite character. But The Rock was my favorite. Stone Cold was a close second. And then as of now,
we turned Steven on right now?
He's like he's like
probably Alexa Bliss.
Yeah, that's a good choice actually. I respect
when
that choice a lot.
when we saw the Women's Royal Rumble, that was pretty entertaining.
Yeah,
And we were there in Arizona, and
that's true. We were there 3 hours early.
that's 3 hours early because Brian wanted to make sure we
I'm
got there.
I'm a total dad about these things, and I forgot about the time difference and stuff like that. And
So, yeah.
I'll apologize for that.
So
That guy.
not only do we get there like we got to get there early, we got there California time in Arizona, and they were an hour ahead.
Yeah,
so we waited in line for like 2 hours, 3 hours.
And then Steven and I had our argument moment with the Saints Rams game, the playoff game from last year. Like the entire hour we were in line. That one got pretty bad too. I'm a bad guy. I'm sorry.
How about you, Lex?
Yeah, what's your wrestling stuff?
So my first favorite wrestler of all time was Shawn Michaels, and he's gonna be like my all-time favorite wrestler of all time. And yeah, man, I even got the Shawn Michaels tattoo right there on the left arm. It's the same one that he has.
Yours looks like it's in better condition than Sean's.
I know, right? Oh man, but yeah, and then I'm gonna get the boyhood dream has finally come true under that. I'm just gonna write it with Sharpie. And my current favorite wrestler, that's kind of a hard one because I have a few, but it always kind of goes back to Finn Balor. So Finn Balor.
Who was one of your favorite wrestlers before Finn Balor? And I would say Daniel Bryan. There was another one that I enjoyed because he's super low.
Low tier?
Yeah.
You talk about Santino Marella?
My boy Santino Marella.
Santino Marella, dude. He was, to be honest, Santino was probably one of my favorite wrestlers for a long stretch of time. So he's probably one of my longest stretch of time favorite wrestlers. Whereas like Daniel Bryan, like I hopped over to like Shinsuke Nakamura, and then I hopped over to like Finn Balor. But Santino was just like a long stretch there.
There was a phase though where Santino and
do the Shinsuke impersonation.
Yeah, do it.
Oh, me?
AJ Styles. Hey man, I'm gonna have to walk away now, man. Like
I know that was pretty bad. I'm sorry. Hold on. Hey, I fell for the trap. Bad guy, Steven. Bad guy.
There was a phase.
I'm sorry, guys.
HBK and Santino Marella were on the same, like they were wrestling at the same time. Who was your favorite during that period?
Damn.
Controversial.
That's a close one.
The answer is Chris Benoit.
You can't do that.
Oh man, wild.
That's
yeah. So next question.
Where do you think Chris Benoit would go to lunch?
Oh,
not a good segue. My bad.
He's I don't know. I would say he was the rabid Wolverine, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe somewhere by Ann Arbor, Michigan. I don't know. Like a diner in Ann Arbor, Michigan.
But for respectable human beings, where would they get their lunch?
Oh.
So
Ike sandwiches. I didn't. Why would?
I think probably. We should separate. Chris Benoit and.
Let's cut ties with that. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I thought it was a good segue. I was a little bit. I was a little wrong.
I did too, but this is probably our most one of our most exciting sponsors, and that we've ever had on like any podcast. And
so Ike sandwiches, they are my favorite sandwich place in the world. I think they're Lex's favorite sandwich place in the world. They have locations in Arizona, Las Vegas, San Diego, Inland Empire, Los Angeles County, and they started in the Bay Area. So if you're ever in one of those locations, if you're ever by like Arizona State, I think USC goes to Arizona State this year. So maybe if I feel froggy and I want to take a trip to go see that game, I'll stop by an Ike's in Tempe, Arizona. My personal favorite's the Matt Cain. What's your favorite, Lex?
My favorite is the Menage a Trois. I believe it's number 111. Super dope. Yeah.
And do you have a favorite, Steven?
You know what? I've tried a couple, and I think the Menage a Trois is
it's fire, right?
Yeah.
Like three types of chicken, honey.
If we go back to Tempe, will you be attempting a second dunk? That's what
I don't know. How many people in the slam dunk contest do it 2 years in a row?
Man.
Usually just the champions, right? So do you think I won the first time?
Damn.
I think you won that trip. Yeah.
Okay. All right, then maybe I'll have to go for a second dunk in Tempe.
Man.
I still have the tokens to the
On the parking
hotel.
lot.
So we could probably park our car if we don't stay at the hotel. We can always park our car in that parking lot, I think.
For like the next 5 years.
Yeah.
I think we have like 5 tokens, right? Or something like that, 4
Because
tokens.
apparently this hotel runs on an arcade system, so we just put some tokens in.
They just gave me a handful of tokens. Like, here, this is how you get out. And
Like, we're staying for one night. They're like, here
you go, a whole cup of tokens.
We park and we accidentally start like a game of Pac-Man.
Damn.
Wholesome joke of the day. I'm just kidding.
All right. So wait, what was the question? Oh, there wasn't a question. All right.
Yeah,
Are you okay?
get you some ice.
I'm stronking.
So, as you guys know, we all three of us, we took different trips this past week. Lex and I were in Vegas. Brian passed through Vegas and went to Utah and to see SC play BYU. And so we had a question: what was the best and worst part of the trip? So I'll let Brian start this one.
Yeah.
All right.
Last time Lex started and it didn't end well, so.
All right. So, I guess the worst part of the trip was BYU versus USC. USC ended up blowing the game. But it's funny because the BYU fans are awkwardly nice. So they made the loss not feel so bad. Like, they gave us ice cream mid-game. They give the opposing fans ice cream.
Wow.
And I get it's a tactic. It calms the fans down. They're not as yelling. They're eating ice cream. The game was extremely hot. The weather was bad. The sun's just beating on you. So a lot of the SC fans just went into the tunnels to try to watch the game from the tunnel. So I just feel like, and we had a freshman quarterback just throw 3 picks, which happens. But we're leaving, and people will be like, "Hey man, good game. I'm glad you drove all the way out here for this. Hey, USC is a great team. And it's just I'm used to one time I went to a Padres-Dodgers game in San Diego, and a Dodger fan just went straight in my face and went, "Woo!" And I was like,
It was me?
Did he have tats on his neck or?
Not yet. So,
Not yet.
But then everyone in the BYU crowd was like, "Hey, but next week, beat the Utes, beat Utah." And yesterday I went to the USC versus Utah game, and it was beautiful. And if I had to take anything from that loss, at least the BYU game was a non-conference loss. I didn't expect USC to make the playoff this year. I know I'm going on a rant.
You're good.
Best part of the trip is probably just spending 7 straight days with my girlfriend, and we enjoyed our company.
I feel like you guys always spend 7 straight days together.
I ran through
Steven, no, Steven.
I know. We said we weren't going down that rabbit hole again.
I'm like, oh, my boxers.
No, what are you doing? Nobody wants to see that.
Oh god!
I didn't think it was gonna go flashing on my boxers.
Wow.
Yo, this is a way worse episode than the first attempt, dude. I think we're gonna be canceled. I think we might be canceled.
Yeah, hopefully I didn't have a ball out.
That's what I'm saying, dude. We have to I know you say you don't edit it. We have to really check that part.
Oh, you really don't? I'll put it up.
I'm just kidding. We should blur it out.
So what was the okay? So that was the best part, and the worst part was them losing, or?
Yeah, it was losing the BYU game.
I would say the best part of our trip was for sure Maddie Rose. We got to meet Maddie Rose, take a picture with her. So fire, so beautiful, and shouts out WWE. The worst part is that Brian didn't stop and visit. I'm just kidding. and that was one of the things. I was like, man, Brian didn't stop and visit, but you guys went to Utah, right?
Yeah, so I explained this in the other episode. Is the original plan was to stop in Vegas, but then we realized we would save time driving if we just drove through it.
Then he realized, it's just Brian and
bad guy.
Yeah.
I don't feel offended. It's okay.
I feel offended. How long was the drive?
Roughly 10 to 12 hours. It depends.
Did
Both
you?
ways?
I had a question. Did you guys rent a car?
No, we took my Civic.
Yeah, that's a drive. That's a drive for sure.
Okay.
Sorry, someone's outside right now. Don't tread on me. No, I'm just kidding. All right, so I would say,
Well,
yeah,
is that
that'll
the
be
same
mine.
good part of the trip for Steven? What
That
was
was that was a good part.
The good
but
part, yeah, we got to
What
meet
was the best
one
part
of
for
our
Steven?
favorite
I,
wrestlers.
I got to see Marshmallow live.
Oh,
So
yeah.
so I mean, like, as you all know, we play
I'll admit,
Fortnite.
I was gonna say, I'll admit, I'm a little jelly on that.
We all play
Dude,
Fortnite.
I say we
We
go.
went to the virtual Marshmallow concert in Fortnite. We all
Mhm.
busted our orange justice.
Yep.
Had a great time. Then we had the opportunity to see Marshmallow live, and he did not disappoint. I was busting my orange justice in real life, man. Like,
Dude, it was spiritual. It was spiritual.
It was very calming.
Yeah, dude, we,
So-
we got to like see him in a concert too soon. That way Brian could go, and let's see if we could get Jesse to go to recreate the squad.
So
Jesse doesn't leave Victorville, so
I'm trying to. He goes to bed at 8:30.
Oh,
Jesse's gonna come up later in this episode too. But
Yeah.
Bad guy Jesse.
I know I'm going like oddly into these like sub questions. But what was the worst part for you, Lex?
or Steven.
Well, I was gonna say you have your own personal worst, and then
My personal worst.
Personal worst.
Well, to be honest, I was like, man, I was disappointed when Brian didn't see us because I was really hurt. But then Brian did make a good point that he did like a ton of driving, and Brian doesn't like to drive like to the grocery store, let alone like to Utah. You know what I mean? I can't imagine like how antsy or how much you prefer not to make that drive. But as far as bad parts, to be honest, it was fun this year. I don't really think I had a bad part, but I don't know. There is one part though that like I kind of share. I can empathize with Steven on his bad part. Like I think I like Steven's bad
You're
part.
gonna laugh because that's probably not the worst part that you're thinking. The worst part was probably not being able to hold those two kettlebells for over a minute. Failure.
Ooh.
You know, you guys caught it on the gram, but
That's true.
it's no joke, man.
That's why you're third mic.
Okay, all right.
Man.
No, I probably couldn't do it either.
Wow.
It was heavy. My knees buckled.
How difficult was it? If you could explain to like the viewers.
It felt like my skin was tearing, like my palms. So you get to put the chalk on. So I put the chalk on. I had a pretty decent grip, but just over time, it felt like I had what are the SpongeBob blow up arms? They were just gonna right off. So I honestly though I was happy I did it. You know, I usually don't do things like that. No, just like put myself out there, and Lex, he said, "Hey man, do it for the podcast," and I said, "You're right."
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
So that was probably the worst part, and then the second one was my Me Too moment.
This is wild, fam.
The Me As Well movement.
And it was me being included in that category.
Well, tell the story.
I'll let you start it, Lex, because it's.
So we got to. I'm like, dude, I'm finally feeling better, but I'm still coughing up a storm. But anyways, we got to Vegas rather early, and I think the rest of the group, the rest of the boys got there 2 days after, right? And I think as soon as they got there, they wanted to eat right away. So I was like, all right, yeah, me and Steven are kind of hungry too. So like we all went to eat. We went to the Cosmopolitan food court area. There's like a bunch of different stuff, right? And they wanted a sushi, so all the boys went to sushi. And then me and Steven were like, you know what? How about like to our right? There's like a Mexican restaurant, so we just went there. So we ate some food in the Mexican restaurant. The boys finished first. They went back to the room. And I was like, as we were at the restaurant, I was like, hey, Steve, I kind of want to get those donuts though in that food court area. He's like, all right, yeah, for sure. So we went out there. Steve was like, all right, I'm going to go to the restroom real quick. So I went to go get the donuts. Took forever to buy them for some reason, and then like I started eating them. They're like huge, they're really good, and it took me forever to eat them too. So I noticed like a lot of time had passed. Where's Steven? So I just see Steven come back with like a tall can of like Modelo, right? And he's just like, I just got Me Too'd. So I was like, oh man. So I guess apparently what happened. So Steven went to the restroom, right? And he went to go use the urinal, did business number one. And so he did that. And then I guess like to the right of him comes some gentleman, right? He explains him as like being 6'9", basically 6'6", right? Like humongous buff guy. And mind you, this is the same weekend as the Mr. Olympia Fitness Expo weekend. So there's just buff dudes and girls like everywhere in Vegas this weekend. So Steven had the pleasure of having one of those gentlemen right to the right of him, right? So they're both just handling their business side by side, and the gentleman next to Steven finishes first. And I guess as he's wrapping up and putting it away, by the way that Steven explained it, the gentleman right before he left Steven's side, he literally leans over, looks at Steven's situation. He's like for about a good second or two.
He caught me mid jiggle. Okay.
Yep.
Mid jiggle.
Looks, and then he walks back to the sink, right?
Mid shake.
Exactly.
Mid shake. And peripherals, guys. Peripherals.
Yeah.
You know, you can see this guy's head. I can see, you guys can't, but I can see this guy's head.
Yo, I see it every night.
I said, man, he just stared at my junk. Stared at my junk wiggle right now. Right? So what makes it even worse is, right, he turns, goes to the sink. He's washing his hands at the sink, right? And there's the mirror in front of him. And so I finish and I turn around and we make eye contact. I look at him straight, dead on through the mirror. And he just looks at me and he goes, gives me a smirk and a nod, right? So
smirk and a nod. Gave you a smoke and a pancake?
Smoking a pancake. he a smirk and a nod. So he gives me the smirk and nod, right?
Yeah.
And at that moment, I'm like, oh, shit. Like, either he's laughing at me or he's congratulating me. I didn't know, right? You got to hope for the best, right?
Exactly.
Anyways, I wash my hands. I get out of there. I grab the tall can, chug half of it, and I go meet up with Lex.
You didn't say thank you? Or
what do you want, a handshake or what?
If I was in a male restroom and someone took a peek at me and then gave me I would have been like, thank you. I appreciate that. When I was in the BYU restroom, I'm taking a leak and some guy's trying to talk to me about like, hey, do you know someone on the team? Hey, what you drove all the way out here? 3 different guys. One's next to me, one's right here, and the guy who's waiting in line behind me are all just trying to ask me USC questions as I'm trying to take a leak. And they're all just nice. And
I think it would have been different if this guy was like my size or maybe just like, a little bit taller than me, but
were you trying to escape the restroom just to make sure?
I was just like, fuck, like, I gotta get out of here, man. Like, there's no way I can take this guy. Like, he's gonna pull me over into the handicap, but I'm gonna be handicapped. So I said, I gotta get out of there, man. Get out of there.
Me as well movement.
Oh man, you know what's the best way to get over something like that is just find yourself a good gift somewhere at a good maybe a good gift shop somewhere. And you know who has a good gift shop? Vital Pomona, which is also another one that this podcast is brought to you by. So Vital Pomona, we believe everyone has a gift. Some just help need. That again. We believe everyone has a gift. Some just need help finding it. www.vitalpomona.com. You catch them at Vital Pomona on Instagram, and I believe their grand opening is actually on October 12th. So, yeah, I don't think anything important is going down on October 12th, right? So I'll be there. I'm just kidding. I
was like, what's? Oh yeah. Gideon.
Woo woo. So, but yeah, if you can make it, make it. If not, either way, Vital. Follow Vital Pomona. Yeah.
Fourth question.
That was a pretty good live read there.
Thank you.
So for an English major, you can read pretty well.
Oh, thank you.
Just kidding.
Bad guy.
Hey, question number 4. The question, we said Jesse was going to be brought back, and we're bringing him back.
Yep.
I like Jesse because he's a good sport.
Yes.
And this is a topic that we always go over in Fortnite when we're playing.
Yes.
So Jesse's question. Sorry, I'm getting my rant ready. Jesse's question is, why does Steven hate people that do early commencement? Early commencement, okay. Whew. No, I'm just kidding. Early commencement. So, okay, so just to give you some background. So Jesse he's an engineer, by the way. So engineering's a hard-ass major. Shout out to everybody that does it.
I don't know.
Finishes it.
I've seen a lot of engineers get 10% in their classes and pass.
So finishes it, okay? So Jesse had, I think, a class or 2 left, right? And so he ended up walking in spring, but he's actually going to, last spring he walked, and now he's, going to the last couple classes now, right? And so he didn't go to Vegas with us because he had to meet up with one of his groups or some BS like that.
Yeah.
Because you can't just Zoom them, right? You have to actually be there in person. So,
we don't use Zoom. I don't
like Zoom, right? So anyways, my whole thing is like, why would you walk if you're not really finished, right? Like, on Fortnite, we tell him, like, he's like, oh, I got class or I got homework. And I was like, I thought you graduated, man. Like, you walked last year, right? Aren't you done? And so, the running joke is that, he walked, but he hasn't graduated yet. So, he's still, the chance of failure is still there.
Yeah. So, you said, like, what if he never passes those classes, right?
Exactly. What if he never passes? His mentality in his brain is already like, oh, I walked, I'm good, like, whatever, right? So, I mean, just finish your classes, right? He would have finished in fall, and then he just would have walked in spring, like.
Or just
every day he goes to school, he walks by where he pretended to graduate.
Oh, man.
It was a pretend graduation, right? And so he walks by that every day and he sees it, and he hasn't really graduated yet. So it's just a personal opinion, all right? Nobody get hurt. It's my personal opinion. I would just finish. And the example I like to use is when you run a marathon, you can't run 24 miles the day of and come back 2 weeks later and finish with your last 2 miles. You run all 26 miles before you get your medal, before it's complete. And that's the way I see this. You should finish everything first and then walk across the stage, because then you have the validation of, yes, I finished. I'm done. I really did it. It's over. I don't have to worry about anything. Instead of having to come back a semester later and go through it, for another semester.
Not buy your robe, not get your little degree holder thing, and then be like, see you in the fall.
You basically
degree holder.
You basically did Halloween early by dressing up as a graduate because you really weren't graduating. So again, that's just my personal opinion. Nobody get offended if that's what you decide to do, because obviously, everybody's situation is different.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, think about it. You might miss out. You might miss out on a trip with your friends because you have to meet up with your group. I'm just saying, like, I don't know. What's your take, Lex? How do you? I mean, you're because you're going to have the option of doing that, right? Or
wait, didn't you technically do that
at Mount Sac? At Mount Sac, yep, community college. Yeah, that's true. Actually, sorry. I got that young 10-year AA degree plan, and
we all did, man.
Yeah. So I had gotten accepted to Cal Poly Pomona, correct? And I just had to finish one more fall semester at Mount Sac. So I think I had the option of graduating or something like that. And so basically what I ended up doing is that I got accepted to Cal Poly. I took my last semester at Mount Sac in the fall semester. And then what would have been the spring semester at Mount Sac, it was the winter quarter at Cal Poly at the time, right? And then I started at Cal Poly right away. Winter quarter, I did the spring quarter at Cal Poly. And then after I finished the spring quarter at Cal Poly, I went back to Mount Sac and walked for my AA degree.
Oh, so it's
But,
different. Okay, I thought it was.
Yeah.
You started
And
talking about that
just to put the whipped cream on top of the sundae, Jesse invited Brian and Lex to go to his commencement, and it was like at 8 a.m, right? These guys are not morning people.
Not at
and
all.
so they didn't wake up, they didn't go, and he's giving them a hard time. But I said, like, hey, he's gonna finish in fall, you can just watch him do it again. It's free, like, it's it's not a missed opportunity is what I'm saying.
Right, I get it.
So.
That's true.
There was technically. Are we gonna go into the other question, or are we gonna save it, or wasn't there a fifth one, or by someone very close
yeah.
to
Lucha Libre?
Lucha Libre.
I forgot what it was about, but
it's a Lucha Libre question.
Yeah, shouts out to George though.
I
forgot the question. All right, we'll get you on the next episode.
Hold on. I got you.
You got it?
We got it.
I forgot to save it, to be honest.
Because
that was like 2 episodes ago.
Well, he sent it after we recorded the.
Yeah, that's why. Yeah.
Oh yeah, maybe I won't have it. It's kind of far.
Yeah.
Wasn't there like a weird political one in there too? Or?
No, we were joking that it was political, but it was another. I forgot what it was. I forgot the first one. I just remember the second one was Lucha Libre.
Do you think the right to bear arms means you can take? No, I'm just kidding. I just kidding. Chill. It's a joke.
You wild.
If Brian can Chris Benoit, like, why can't I have a little fun?
Dude, man, we gotta.
Mine are hot takes, but they're truthful too as well. So they're truthful.
I know. Mine's more,
even God's like, hey, chill, fam.
Mine's a little too opinionated, or
Wow. But,
like you're supposed to put peanut butter on both sides of the bread, right?
You're wild, man.
I do.
I do one side heavy peanut butter with a light jelly, and then I do one side moderate jelly with just a tint of peanut butter, and then
all right. I see you.
Wait, so like when it's like on the inside though, right? Not like on the outside, right?
No.
Okay, I was about
He's got peanut butter and jelly on the outside of the sandwich.
Just like peanut butter jelly.
There's nothing in the middle. It's just bread to bread, dude.
Alex is not afraid to have food on his fingers, though.
The bread is scissoring itself.
Those nachos in Bakersfield did not sound a chance.
I think there's video of that too.
I have video of Lex going ham on nachos. He was eating his fingers. His fingers.
It was probably me, like, at my lowest in my life, and it was just me, just like
Can I tell the Bakersfield joke? Like, you're from Bakersfield?
Yeah.
There's enough time. Real quick.
Yeah.
So Lex is already gone, right? And there's this girl that works at the stadium or the arena, and so Lex tries to be smooth, and he's like, "Hey, you're from Bakersfield?" And she's like, "Yeah, I live out here." He's like, "Man, sucks for you." We had a running joke of Bakersfield because Bakersfield's Bakersfield, and so it was a running joke, but like it was meant to be funny, and Lex was already a couple of tall cans in, and it was one of those. It was a good moment.
He almost fought everybody in that car that night.
Literally, yeah. Oh man,
he almost put me to sleep, man.
I'll make sure you. Wait, who is it? I'll make sure who's sleeping tonight.
Me. We'll see who's sleeping tonight. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
As you can tell, I made it out alive. So.
Too bad we couldn't re-record that one.
I was like, oh
no! It just got awkward.
Awkward.
Are we signing out? Oh, awkward.
Signing out.
Just because it's less than a minute, so I figure.
Yeah, fuck it.
Hey, so about last week.
We're gonna get this done. Oh, sorry, I Jameis Winston there.